Okay, let's take a closer look at the second trailer for Doctor Strange, where the movie is changing before our eyes as they layer in more visual effects. It's always a tricky thing to decide when to start releasing footage when you have such a strong visual effects movie, right? And that we've discussed this before. This is why you get your big money shots done first. Like, for instance, with the original Independence Day, the exploding of the White House was done first, so it would be ready for the trailer to make that big first impression. And I think there's an argument to be made that maybe they should have waited to launch Doctor Strange till they had a little bit more of the visual effects done, because I like this trailer far more than the first one. Or maybe they just should have done those visual effects shots first. But they gambled on the Inception type shots that were ready for the first trailer, and some people like them and some people like myself did not. But I think we need to move past that. I think that this movie does have to deal with the problem that Scott Derrickson seems to be, borrowing Christopher Nolan's style, and we'll see if the movie can get past that. But there are some interesting things going on here, and I'm certainly very excited to be won over by Doctor Strange. So let's take a look at this trailer. Now, again, this is a building that I discussed in my trailer reaction is just going up in Manhattan, and you can see right in front of it here, that's actually a sanitation department garage, and this is the West Side Highway. I think his famous accident is going to take place on the West Side Highway, and tragically, a lot of accidents do happen on the West Side Highway. It's actually a little bit of a dangerous stretch of road, especially with this steep because you have traffic going in opposite directions. There's like a hill separating the two of them, and then also you have that drop off into the water next to it. Cars rarely go into the water though, but Doctor Strange is extraordinary, unfortunately, in every regard. So let's get started here. Now we've got here him preparing as a surgeon again, and the idea that his world is very elegant and makes perfect sense, right? And that's why they have Tilda Swinton talking over, saying, "Oh, Doctor Strange, you think you know how the world works. You know nothing, Jon Snow." And I have to say, by the way, this apartment is not in that building. That building is only being completed now, and it certainly wouldn't have these old school beams in it. So that's just a trick of Hollywood there. So anyway, though, you can see he lives quite the elegant, non-Tibetan lifestyle when our movie begins. Now, what fascinated me is they show you a little bit more of his car accident here, and he drives the nifty sports car, right? And that's the car that hits the other car. So it looks like Doctor Strange, who knows what the circumstances are in his driving, but it seems that Doctor Strange is the one who causes his own accident, right? With his hubris and his selfishness, right? I hope this other individual is okay. That could be something that also ends up driving him to change his life. So we have this horrible accident. He ricochets off, sliding. Nice car, Strange. And then there are the results. His hands shattered. That's the story. I couldn't find out if Doctor Strange caused the accident in the comics, but I think that's a good change. I think that's a good idea if it is a change. Rachel McAdams, I don't want her in the movie. I want her out. Some of you have commented she's just being Rachel McAdams. She's played this role so many times before, and I think that when you have Benedict Cumberbatch playing a role, with the only real change sometimes seeming that it's this American accent, you don't want too many actors seemingly doing what they always do, because it takes some of the excitement out of there. So I would have taken her out. I kind of wish that Rosario Dawson had just been in this movie, because it's a New York hospital. We've spent a lot of time there already, and we really come to enjoy seeing Claire Temple show up. As many of you pointed out, she recently quit her job, but maybe she just came to a different hospital. I don't know. I don't like this character, and I just feel I guess I don't see a Marvel character. I'm starting to see Doctor Strange to some degree. I don't see a Marvel character with her. Maybe that'll change too, but I'm not a fan. But so apparently he has one friend, and she feels real bad for him. I like all the pins in his hand. Now he goes on a quest at first to try and fix his hands, different types of medicine, but then now he's going to see that he's going to see a way to fix his soul, which is even more shattered. All right, speaking of shattered things, we're gonna see some in just a moment with shattering realities. But I want to point out first, this looks like one of those cooking classes, and you have your own little table to work at. But there's Baron Mordo, maybe perhaps being jealous. I have a theory about Baron Mordo, which I shall share Well, I'll tell you it right now. In the comics, the character that Mads Mikkelsen is playing works for Mordo. He is his one of his minions. So I believe that Mordo, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, is pulling the strings here. Because why else would he sign on, right? You don't need two sidekicks. That's Wong. So I suspect he's like, why does he get to jump to the front of the class? But anyway, what's really funny about this here, what I've loved about this trailer a little bit, going through it frame by frame, is that you get to see the actors doing the movements on set, and they don't do a good enough job hiding it when adding the visual effects, at least so far. So you're going to see Benedict Cumberbatch in just a second do the little boop, like, oh, I've got, like Scott Derrickson's like, and now you go through a different dimension. So you see a couple of other actors do that as well. So just look for it. Tilda Swinton, of course, doesn't flinch, because she's an expert in this, but you can really totally see Benedict Cumberbatch being like, okay, and this is where the visual effects are going to come in, and they should watch that. So there he goes. He's like, oh yes, add the glass. And that's the kaleidoscope effect. I think the rainbow looks pretty. I think that's nice. Although it looks the same on the other side, so I don't know what the point of that was. And there you can see the kaleidoscope effect again. A lot of smog. But not here. Now this is interesting. Here she's saying, oh, we can change reality. So I'm wondering if this is a good master of the mystic arts or a bad master of the mystic arts. But with it's obviously, it seems to be a woman, and with the yellow costume, I'm wondering if it's maybe Tina Minoru, Nico Minoru's mother, who we've been wondering, from Runaways, if she's going to show up in this universe. So we don't know exactly what this person's agenda is, but she's altering reality, unbeknownst to the No-Mages or the Muggles around her. We only know what they call regular humans in America and England. Who knows what they call them in other countries? This looks a little French to me, and I guess that's why I brought that up. So she's changing reality. She's done her handiwork, and there she goes. And there you can see another actor doing their movement. They're like, and now you go through the thing. Because you can see she puts her hands back, being like, okay. But then she goes back to not keeping them back, and it looks the same. So I find that weird. I'm like, that doesn't, it seems weird to me. I don't know what's quite going on there. And she seems to not have gone anywhere. So I don't understand what the point of that, this teleporting circle is. I like the teleporting circle, by the way. They're very important. They're going to come in a couple of places in this trailer. They're a nice visual effect. Good job, visual effects team. Now here they're using one to go to the top of perhaps Everest. And he's like, well, that was amazing. I feel so much better. Thank you. Wonderment. How's this for wonderment? Good? I like that. Now, I like this quite a bit when he's like, how do I get from here to there? I think that's very well done. And I'm coming a little bit around more on his American accent, even though, again, he does sound an awful lot like Hugh Laurie's American accent. So he's like, how do I get from here from where I am to your understanding? And I like the idea of it being like, well, how did you become a very skilled surgeon? And the idea that it requires just the same amount of attention to detail, patience, and study, right? Because it's tough work to become a doctor, right? Like a lot of work. To some of us, an unimaginable amount of work, and I'm sure that it's the same daunting task to become a master of the mystic arts. And also, I'm sure it requires a great deal of precision because, you don't want to mess up your spells just like you don't want to mess up someone's insides. So anyway, I like this. Now, look at this. I was like, oh, so much to explore here. So there's Baron Mordo teaching this class, and there's an individual here with dreadlocks, and I was able to, because of the next shot, pinpoint that's Benedict Cumberbatch there, also studying. And so I guess he's a newbie, and the people in red perhaps are a little bit more advanced. But you can see an individual here, a black actor who is bald, and he looks exactly like the drawing of Daniel Drum in the prequel comic. So that perhaps makes me feel that is Daniel Drum. And this actress over here looks an awful lot like the drawing of Tina Minoru from the prequel comic. So perhaps they really are in the movie, which would be very exciting because that's, of course, relatives of not only Nico, but Jericho Drum, a.k.a. Brother Voodoo, a.k.a. Dr. Voodoo, who takes over for Dr. Strange, or took over for him for some time in the comics. So this is a very nice class, like when they take their class photo, a lot of those students are going to go far, or actually their relatives. So anyway, so they're practicing here. And he's like, I'm so bad at it. That's like me when I go to gym class. I'm like, man, I have the motions kind of, but look, my form sucks compared to that dude. Just going to keep trying, God damn it. All right. So here I like this. Now at first I was like, ooh, spell book. All right. But what I really like are how damaged his hands are. His hands look awful bad. But I think that's important. I think it's important that every time you see his hands, you're like, yep, going back to being a doctor or a traditional doctor, not an option. So he's taking down this book to study. It looks like it hurts so bad. I love that. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. Now, that's great. Now, I like this a lot. This is where we're starting to get the visual effects that I like quite a bit. And again, this movie is split. Sometimes it's like Inception, and sometimes it's these cool, glowing colors, a little bit like Suicide Squad that everybody likes so much. It's hard for me to imagine the two reconciling. His hands look a little better here. All right, so anyway, this looks very cool. He's doing some practicing. He's like, let me try it. And what's neat here is that you can see that this goes all the way up his arm. I think that's really cool. I think Tony Stark's going to be mad jealous. He's like, I must add colors. Friday, I have to add colors to my, that's his new Jarvis, by the way, if you aren't familiar with the comics and the movies. He's like, Friday, I have to add colors to my interactive graphics because Stephen Strange is making me look bad. So that looks really cool. I like the way it goes up his arm. I think that's really neat. And so you can see he's also accessing the prism dimension. That looks neat. I think that looks better than when Tilda Swinton did it. I think that's cool. And he's like, I'm doing it. Oh, no, I'm not. Like everyone trying something new, right? I think that's really cool. He's in the Sanctorum there. So that's very cool. Now here's Mordo saying, he has a lot of strength and potential, but I'm going to get him. And there's Wong. I'm not impressed with Wong. I know he's supposed to not be a manservant anymore, but, now he just seems like the uncool kid and the wet blanket in the group. Like maybe he's not ready, and you're like, stop it. All right. Now that's the Cloak of Levitation. We haven't seen him really fly yet. He's jumped between dimensions. Flying's expensive, so we'll see if he can fly. He's supposed to be able to levitate and fly like someone who has telekinesis. It's awfully cool. Who doesn't love levitating? Everybody, I think, at some point is like, oh, I feel like if it was possible, I could totally levitate right now. We've all been there, right? And everyone would think it was so cool. Like when Magneto does it. The X-Men have a lot of good levitators. I'd like to see more levitation in the MCU, but it's cool. I like it. That cloak is neat. Although don't ask Edna Mode about about capes. I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a good job wearing it, though. Now, I like that this is a little bit like his preparation to being a doctor, right? Like the same prep that we saw earlier. But now he's badass with this goatee. I wonder what inspires that fashion choice. He's like, you know what? I'm going to kind of keep the beard, but this is me going halfway. I have the beard still, but I've taken control of it, right? I've shaped it to my will. That's a cool way to think of a goatee, actually. And there you go. They're not going to make the same mistake J.J. Abrams made. If you have a shirtless Benedict Cumberbatch scene, you don't cut it from the movie. So he's all ready. I like this. I thought this was neat. Again, the Sanctorium, the idea that each window leads to a different place. I think that's really cool, right? Which window would you choose? He chooses the ocean in the middle. I'd be pretty partial to that too, although I guess you better go get that cloak of levitation or else what's he going to do when he goes through it? But it's pretty cool. I like this. That's really neat. There's Wong again saying, other men have fallen. Like this one! With some crazy, that's a crazy smoky eye, boy. I'd be like, ooh, are we going to get a cosmetics promotional ad campaign out of this? So he looks pretty upset. But again, I feel he's working for Baron Mordo and perhaps Dormammu. These names are so hard. Dormammu is going to show up as well. He's an evil entity on like an evil plane, right? Okay. Usually has a giant head of fire, but we'll see what they do with him here. Now you can see some kind of plane breaking through with the buildings. This is pretty cool. I like this. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell what you're looking at, but I guess that's the idea with magic, right? It shouldn't be so obvious. But still, it's a little bit hard to get excited about. We've seen dimensions ripped openings to dimensions before, and so you want your audience to be like, okay, ripped dimension time, not Aurora Borealis over New York time. So he's like, I'm killing this world. Now here, she's trying to, Claire Temple style, she's trying to revive Doctor Strange there. You can see him sitting on the table. I wonder what happened to his cloak. I don't know how she got him up on there. That would be amazing. They're under attack. There's Mordo being like, boy, this is not going well, perhaps. Oh, I wonder what happened to his head there. Mads Mikkelsen looks like he's got an injury right smack in the middle of his forehead. Good job, Strange. Now this is neat. At first you're just like, okay, more Inception stuff. But look, if you pay attention to the corner here, you can see that Mordo and Strange are trying to get out of here through that circle before, and to stop them, Mads Mikkelsen's character is tilting the ground. And so look, they slide and they can't get to it in time. I think that's fantastic. That's pretty cool. Just move the circle to beneath you. Come on. It's like Blink from the X-Men. You got to learn your teleportation strategies here in field. Clearly, Doctor Strange, or Stephen Strange, doesn't read enough comics, because therefore he would know this. So anyway, he's like, I can't do this. You have to do it. And here's a cool fight. I like this. Like, he has these strings. I believe there's actually a cool strings spell that I remember reading in the comics. Brian Michael Bendis took this cool thing where he would write down the spell that was being done in the panel to give it kind of like some kind of feeling of authenticity. So I like that he's like pulling this energy, and like he creates like a whip. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's neat. Looks a little like the energy from the teleportation circle. There he is using the green orb again, right? He seems partial to green, I guess. And here you see two figures fighting there. I believe it's Mads Mikkelsen. It's so far away, though, it could be Mordo. Baron Mordo. We'll see. And you can see there's a little bit of the green flicker on his arm there, too. So that's cool. I wonder if this damage will stay, or once they're done fighting, everything will go back to the way it was. Oh, it looks like it is going back to the way it was. Oh, that's cool. The buildings are rebuilding themselves. That's neat. I wonder who, I guess Strange is like, while I fight you, I shall put everything back together behind me. That causes distraction, though. Now here they're running, as people saw them filming this in New York, which is pretty neat. I believe that's Lower Fifth Avenue. That's cool. So they're running. They're like, we're going to get through the circle this time. So more of this crazy alternate reality stuff. He's wearing the cloak. He's like, I hope he breaks the case, right? That'd be awesome. I really want to see him levitate in it. He has so much he's wearing, though. That's got to be so heavy to wear. That's the Eye of Agamotto, which, helps his powers, and that's something only the Sorcerer Supreme wears. And then he's got the Cloak of Levitation on. But man, if I were fighting him, I'd just get him wet, and then he'd be really hard for him to move. There you see. Okay, levitate, do it. I kind of like, though, how the cars are going down the side here, right? Whoever did this for the visual effects team must have had a great time. I think that's pretty neat. Where is he? I guess he's hiding, maybe? He's like, which floating city block is he on? You need a location spell, quick. I don't like this logo. I would put more color in it. Like maybe it's glowing, or like have that cool like green circle around it somehow, just to be like, there's magic here. And then I like this bit, it's the Wi-Fi password. I think that's really funny. And one of you made a very good joke saying, now we have to change the Wi-Fi password because everyone knows it. I also wondered when they were filming the scene if Chiwetel Ejiofor was like, I get to keep my British accent and you don't. Hilarious. They were also in 12 Years a Slave together, interestingly enough. And so how the times have changed, right? Although, will Chiwetel Ejiofor's character get his revenge if he is indeed the evil one? I like this. Now he's got gold magic, circles, and he's using them as kind of like shields, which I think is really neat. That looks fantastic. That's, as I said in my reaction, my favorite part in the trailer. Hold your position! That's neat. Now this was very interesting to me. They have the cast here, but Benedict Cumberbatch did not really get separated out as having a really strong, they weren't like, Benedict Cumberbatch. So I think they may be a little bit concerned about the star power here, or the lack of. So we'll see how the movie does in theaters. It's coming out right at the same time, the same month as Fantastic Beasts, but luckily for them, Eddie Redmayne ain't too big on star power either. Who did a worse job with their casting? We shall see. But very cool. I hope that the movie, I'm glad to see the direction it's moving in a little bit. There seems like there's some interesting things at play. But I hope that Benedict Cumberbatch can pull this off. He seems like a really swell guy. He's always so nice to the fans. He seems to genuinely love what he does for a living and have a lot of respect for genre content like this. He's not one of those snotty Shakespearean actors. So I'm very excited, and I hope this turns out, right? And I continue to think that Scott Derrickson is the weak link. Let's hope. I believe James Gunn vouched for him. Let's hope that he delivers in even somewhat similar fashion. All right, write your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for going through this with me, and you can check out some more videos right now.